In the family that is the human starting zones, Redridge very much feels like the middle child to me. You see, in this case, Elwyn would be the oldest. For most, it's the most memorable. There's fond memories here, a great sense of nostalgia. But they also spend the most time here if they die a lot. Then there's Westfall, the youngest. They've got all these aspirations and ambitions, hooking you into this Defias storyline as it truly starts to take off. Even though there's this conclusion with fighting Van Cleef in the Dead Mines, there's still various story threads that stem off from there and continue on. And then there's Redridge. We've got gnolls and orcs, and that's pretty much it. This isn't to say that I didn't enjoy Redridge. No, it was great. It's the first zone that really starts to throw elite quests at you, forcing you to group with others, and... Holy shit, was that Nessie? In finishing Westfall and starting my journey in Redridge, I came to realize something here. Relaying every individual quest as they happen chronologically is boring as hell. I mean, these zones have these nice overarching storylines that just get completely segmented with this sort of structure. It's all over the place. And I mean, sure, it follows our individual adventure more closely that way and it's more personal. And if you'd prefer to see things play out that way, I'm all for it. But when half the quests are just little one-off adventures, it just makes it all so much more disjointed. It's hard to follow. And it's great that I chose Redridge of all zones to bring attention to this, because there's a lot of that. Now, previously, we done some running for our boy Magistrate Solomon, as he's been trying to get some assistance against the constant Blackrock orc attacks. Though both Stormwind and Westfall were unable to help, there was still somebody we hadn't asked yet. Sending us into the dark and spooky forests of Duskwood, Solomon wants us to ask Lord Ebonlock, and by extension the Night Watch, for help. Similar to the previous request, the Night Watch isn't able to help either, as they are currently combating foul magics without the help of Stormwind. Yet again. Realizing that everybody is effectively out here fending for themselves, Solomon believes that there's something amiss in Stormwind and wishes to get to the bottom of it. Speaking of Stormwind, we still have some Dead Mines quests from before to turn in. In checking in with Thessalnettle, he's grateful to have his brother's badge, though sad that his suspicions were correct. We also hand over all the miners' union cards we collected, which he'll then hand out to the families of those involved. After getting her battery, Shoni then asks us to head into Nomergon to get her robot parts for these gyro-drillmatic excavationators. We're really just out here making up words now. We also hear word that Tinkmaster Oberspark in Ironforge needs help with this tech bot of his. It went into a frenzy with the fall of Nomergon, and Oberspark would at least like to save some part of his creation. Specifically, its memory core. I'm really not excited about the thought of doing Nomergon eventually. After turning in Van Cleef's unsent letter to our architect friend, he'd now like us to talk with one of Van Cleef's lieutenants that's currently being held within the stockades. It seems our business with the Defias Brotherhood isn't quite finished yet, though knowing that the stockades might be a bit, difficult for our level, we'll hold off and continue that thread another time. In leaving the architects, though, we run into Brother Christophe, who's preparing a speech on the fortitude of the spirit and needs a book on metallurgy to do so. The stresses of iron. I'm having a bit of trouble connecting the dots here. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's got passages about handling stress or something. However, the library in Stormwind currently doesn't have it, as it was loaned out to Brother Paxton at Northshire. They think it's a bit strange that he's had it out for so long, so we're sent there to see what's up. Brother Paxton has been taking his time making his own copy of the book, but ran out of his special ink. and to make more he needs Rethban ore, which he'd normally get from Foreman Oslo in Redridge. Unfortunately, Oslo doesn't have any ore on hand, and gnolls have since flooded the cave he would normally get it from. So we're just gonna have to get it ourselves. It's really no surprise to us that Redridge has been having problems with gnolls. Ever since arriving, they've been sending us all over the place to deal with them. They've infested the valleys to the south, the hills to the north, and the whole northeast corner, really. They're kind of just everywhere you look, to be honest. At any given location in Redridge, it's pretty likely that you'll see one of two things. Either a gnoll or an orc. There you go. In going to this cave to collect the Rethban ore, it works out pretty well for us, as we've already been pointed up here to just generally deal with the local gnoll population. With a combination of the dredgers dropping the ore and mining it from the various deposits of copper and tin, we ultimately end up with a lot more than we needed. During our time in this cave, though, we found something interesting that I'm still really not quite sure what's going on with it. In one of these caves, there's this gnoll named Ardo Dirtpaw, and in Classic, it doesn't really look like he has any quests associated with him, though he's also not a rare. He's just some random gnoll that has a name. It's interesting. If anybody knows what his deal is, I would absolutely love to hear it. With our ore now collected, we return it all to Brother Paxton so he can make his ink and finish his copy. From there, we're finally able to get this lad the book he's been waiting for. Have fun connecting the stresses of iron and the fortitude of spirit, I guess. After returning from Stormwind, we sweep up just a couple more quests as we're starting to run out of ones that are really in our level range. We finally get to bashing in some murlocs, getting sketched out by this rare rock giant, but also whipping up some Redridge goulash for the chef and collect some axes from the local Blackrock orcs, as there's a whole lot of them. Though at this moment, Redridge was looking real dangerous to us, so we took a trip back down to Darkshire to see if there was anything small that we could accomplish. Reminiscent of our initial trip to Lakeshire, there's a lot to do here. Victory here wants us to make a telescope of sorts and needs a bronze tube to get started. Little did we know, this was just the start of our nightmare, as a bronze tube is, for whatever reason, really hard to come by, apparently. Also, Madam Ava can make us a protection charm if we bring her a ton of shit, which really isn't going to help us, but we gotta get that completion. It's very, very important. Elaine here has a lot of things she'd like us to check out. She's sure some sort of creature is haunting Raven Hill all the way on the other side of Duskwood and wants somebody to go see what it is. But also while we're out there, she'd like us to check up on an old hermit that lives outside the cemetery, and a lad named Sven, as she has supplies for him. Commander Ebenlock, leader of the Night Watch, then asks us to kill some undead to the south, and the inn's chef would like us to get some lean wolf flanks. God. I think this is the first time we've legitimately had a full quest log. I both love and hate this. Flying off to Sentinel Hill, we find Sven and his buddy Lars asking us to go around and thin the wolf population around here, since we're already nabbing flanks for the chef. Sure, why not? What I didn't expect going into this, though, was how bad the drop rate on these flanks was going to be. I mean, it was nearly on Gore Tuskliver levels. It was atrocious. Somehow, finding the will to persevere, we get our flanks after probably killing over twice the amount of wolves that Lars had originally asked for. We're just casually making these wolves endangered. Now, in getting our season herbs for the flanks, we come to realize that we were about to hit a wall. Nearly everything we had at this point was nearly orange or red, which is really not what you like to see when you're playing with only one single life. Yeah, now, sure, I could just hop to another zone and like wetlands and get a couple quests from there, but I want to try sticking to the core zones as much as I can, only grabbing quests that I'd see just in the human areas. So this really left us with only one course of action. One quest line I was going into completely blind and had no idea just how much of an adventure this was going to be. At level 20, Paladins get their next class-specific questline, the Tome of Valor. While a part of me wanted to do this the instant I hit 20 just to see what it'd give me, I was also incredibly lazy, as you're sent all the way down to the very tip of Westfall almost immediately. Now looking back, it was probably a blessing of some sorts that I chose to be incredibly lazy. Back at the cathedral, we're given this Tome of Valor by Dithorian Rawl, as we're told that we need to find the strength within ourselves. When our mettle is tested against the demons, undead, and dragons, would we be strong enough to stand against it? Bravery is one of the core strengths of being a paladin, and now ours was to be tested. At the very edge of Westfall sits a small house overlooking the ocean. There, an amazing smith named Jordan Stillwell lives, though he's currently gone in Ironforge, leaving his wife, Daphne, to fend for herself. Dithorian sends us off to protect her, and protect her we shall! In passing the exit to Deadmines, we find Daphne tending to her apple trees, as she pretty much tells us, "Oh hey, we're about to get attacked! I'm gonna go nab my shotgun and we're gonna fend them off!" I don't know why I made her southern, just deal with it. As she's inside, grabbing her gun, we're getting this sinking feeling like, oh god, what did we just sign up for? I mean, surely this will be fine though, right? Just then, over the hill, 3 Defias come running, but they're all level 17 or 18. That's simple, this is easy, baby numbers really. But then as we're recuperating, 4 more come running down over the hill. Okay, this might be a bit of a struggle. We target the weakest and run in, ready to give it everything we've got. We're forced to use potions, divine protection, literally everything until we're starting to run low on mana. And now we sit here, waiting for the quest to end, waiting for that confirmation that we've won. As more seconds pass, the cruel truth dawns upon us. We're not done yet. 5 more cross over the hill and we're sent into a panic. Can we do this alone? Should we run? No, we've got to stand up against the odds, prove our bravery to everyone. We throw our magic dust to put one of them to sleep. We found it off of one of the dust devils a way back, and now is its time to shine. As Daphne fights one alone, we focus purely on our own survival, fending off the other 3 as they lay into us. We're forced into using Blessing of Protection, leaving us with only Lay on Hands as a last resort if everything goes wrong. And just then, the other raider wakes up and joins the fight, and our mana reserves are dwindling. Though as another falls, our fears are finally put at ease. Another drops, leaving just 1, and before long, it's done. Daphne is safe. Holy shit. We return to Dithorian to tell him that Daphne is safe, and he points us in the direction of Jordan himself in Ironforge. He thinks it'd be better if we delivered the news ourselves. Next destination, Ironforge. We head outside the gates to find him at his forge and update him on everything we've done. To reward us, he'd like to craft us a weapon worthy of our valor, stating that surely someone as brave and skilled as us would surely be able to collect everything. Handing us a note, we quickly realize that this isn't the end of the quest. Oh no. This shit's just beginning, my guy. Get comfortable, everyone, for this one's gonna be a doozy. Jordan needs 4 items in total to craft us this weapon, and each comes from very different parts of the world. Ordering them out for us from easiest to the most difficult in his mind, we start with the Whitestone Oak. This can be found in the tunnels beneath Moonbrook, or in other words, the Deadmines. It seems our business there isn't quite done yet. Next, we're in need of refined ore from his dwarven buddy in Thelsamar. He believes this refined alloy would be perfect for our weapon. Third is his enchanted smithing hammer, which he'd gotten from his father. When the Scourge had attacked, he'd left it behind, though believes that it'd still be within the courtyard. Ultimately, this will send us to Shadowfang Keep. And then lastly, we have the Core Gem, a powerful conduit for spellcasters to amplify their magic. We're pointed in the direction of Thunderous Windweaver of Aberdeen to check into that. We'll start with the closest of the 4, Baylor's refined ore in Loch Modan. We find Baylor in Thelsamar, and he tells us that the local ogres had attacked his latest shipment and likely headed at their camp to the northeast. Easy enough. All we've really got to do is just walk in, take his stuff, and hop out. Wait, these guys are elites? That's fine, that's easy. We'll just take them on one at a time and sneak around until we find it. Prowling around their stronghold, surrounded by ogres, we find the crate. After creeping up and grabbing it, we peace the fuck out. I'm not tempting fate today. Returning to Baylor, he confirms that this is indeed the crate, and we have one of our 4 items. Our next order of business was the Whitestone Oak from the Dead Mines. We found a group and hopped right back into our role as healer. At this point, I've just come to embrace this role, and I've continued talenting into Holy. In our full set of healing gear, we descend back into the mines until we reach Sneed's room. From one of the many goblins inside, we retrieve our lumber. 2 out of the 4 complete. We went on to complete the rest of the dungeon, and I got a stun on Smite to skip one of his stuns, so I got my 5 seconds of feeling cool. We also might have run out of mana on Van Cleef, but it was fine. It was fine. Don't worry about it. It's great. Yeah. Now, Shadowfang Keep was going to be interesting. Aside from these class quests, Alliance characters really don't have a whole lot of reason to go up there unless they just feel like going. I was thinking my chances of getting a group for this would be slim at best, so we went back to Duskwood to bully some undead for a while before... Sure. Hell yeah, I'll DPS this. Healing is stressful, my guy. Thus began the extremely long run back to Shadowfang. God, I wish there was a boat that went to South Shore. As we gathered and entered the keep, I realized very quickly that I was, very glad that I wasn't healing this place. I mean, this tank was ballsy as hell. They grabbed these huge groups of enemies and just tanked that shit like an absolute champ. I didn't understand how our druid healer almost always had full mana. Like, I'd have to be drinking damn near every pull in here, and they're just completely fine. The entire time. On getting to the courtyard and sending these horses to the glue factory, we find Jordan's hammer lying in the stables. With this, we have our 3rd item. Only 1 left to go. The rest of the instance passed mostly without incident. My life flashed before my eyes briefly at Urgal, but it was fine. Everything's perfectly great. With the core gem being our only remaining item, it was now time to head to Aberdeen and speak with Thundress. He tells us this specific gem is often found on the Naga in northwest Ashenvale. At Black Fathom Deeps. Are you telling me we have to run another dungeon? I knew that there was some elite Naga outside the instance, so curious, I looked up to see if they could drop the gem, and would you know it, they can! Surely we can solo some elites, we just, have to be careful. Taking the long trek down to Ashenvale, we begin systematically taking down these Naga, even coming across some horde friends along the way. Hello, buddy. Eventually, we'd found what we came for. We finally had the last piece to this puzzle. Purifying it, Thundress hands it back to us, and we rush on back to Jordan, eager to finish this long journey. Jordan gathers all the items we put together and immediately gets to work on our weapon, hammering away, each strike sparking rays of holy light away from him. Moments later, it's finished and... Oh, holy shit! I had no idea I was about to get something that huge from this quest. I mean, I had an idea that this was going to be a nice upgrade, but not like doubling my damage sort of upgrade. I mean, we're invincible. Wait, no. None of that. We can't let this give us an ego. That's how we die. Throughout that fun little adventure, we'd also gained 2 levels, making most of those scary orange and red quests suddenly now within our level range. Hell yeah, brother! Now's as good a time as any to start knocking those out. We'll start with Belly Grub, since he's right next to Lakeshire, and We should have probably started with something smaller to train maces again. Whoops. Moving on, there's this gnoll leader in the hills to the north named Yowler. We solo them and their buds with ease. And you know, while we're at it, let's just keep going north to get some more orcs. Oh my god, this place is sketchy as fuck. I mean, we can handle this place with our mace now, but oh my god, we really shouldn't be here alone. Within the cave in the back here, there's a fun little escort quest where you get Corporal Keishan out and back to Lakeshire. I think normally, you would do this with a group of people. I didn't do that. Nah, dude, I went into this completely alone. Like, we've got this shit. We are totally okay. Even though Keishan chooses to walk through everything, it still feels like he's going a bit too fast for me. I mean, I barely have time to sit down and drink before he walks on out and pulls another couple orcs. My guy's got a death wish, god. But the cave's not going to be the worst part. Oh no. It's about to get so much worse. So remember those huts outside? Yeah, this is about to get really messy. The lad pulls us into a fight with 4 orcs. I mean, and an imp if you want to count them, but I can just gently shove him and he's gone. We are so lucky that this guy's an elite because holy shit can he take a beating while also dishing out a decent amount of damage. Barely making it through this pull, I sit down to drink and recover. Just to see him walk into the next group. Okay, but it's just the 3, so we should be fine. You see that right there? That's guy number 4. And would you look at that? We've got guy number 5. I'm just gonna let this play out. You can see what happened. I needed to sit down for a second after that. We just shouldn't be alive right now. And yes, I did skip that chest. I had much bigger concerns at the moment. Thankfully, in getting past those huts, we'd gone through the worst bit of it. Though this whole time I was still extremely on edge, expecting a big group of orcs to just spawn on in and try to wipe us out in one big final fight. Kind of like those Defias back in Westfall. But that never happened. We made it the rest of the way back without issue, and I am never doing that again! With all of these things cleared up, there's really only 2 spots on the map that we haven't touched yet. There's all of this area up here with the gnolls, and Stonewatch. Deciding it'd be better to start with the lesser of 2 evils, we set our sights on Lieutenant Fangor. As we get there, we see another group already forming to take the lad down, so we just hop in with them. Lad didn't even stand a chance. Sticking around, it's not long before we also find the glowing Shadowhide pendant as well. Another item that will start a fun little quest chain for us. I was so worried that this would end up as another gold pickup schedule incident, but thankfully it wasn't quite that bad. Through this pendant, we hear the voice of Theocritus, High Mage of the Tower of Azura. Azura, it's not fucking Elder Scrolls. For months, he'd been researching how to communicate through these pendants, and now that we can hear his voice, he asks us to come meet him in his tower in Elwyn. We head on up to meet him, and... oh my god, what the fuck? What the hell is this? Anyways, Theo explains that his rival, Morganth, is situated in the Tower of Ilgala in Redridge, right in the middle of all those gnolls. Theo's been wanting to spy on him, and asks us to go put a glyph on an alliance statue near the tower. Now, only coming back to edit this together, did I notice something interesting? Much earlier, when I'd been grabbing Blackrock axes, I'd found a captured servant of Azora in their camp and thought it was a bit strange that he was just chilling there. Now I'm thinking that the little guy was likely sent there before us to do the same thing, but was ultimately captured. For all Theo knows, that lad's probably dead. In placing the glyph upon the lion statue, he then asks us to place another at the top of the watchtower outside of Stonewatch. Easy enough. Is what I'd say if I liked lying to you. Like a fucking liar. Just like Stonewatch, this tower's crawling with elites. So it's time to assemble another squad. We've got Holy Protector, our priest and healer, IBTC or Ibtka, a mage, Ignacio, another mage, Ibtka, and Datarella, a fun little warlock friend. Then finally, I got to be the famed tank of our little group here. Mostly because I was the only melee of the group. Yay! As paladins, we really just end up doing a little bit of everything, don't we? To start, we place our glyph at the top of the tower for Theo. Super easy. In Stonewatch proper, though, we're coming in with 3 objectives in mind. We're to gather midnight orbs from the various shadowcasters positioned all about the keep so they can be disposed of later. On top of collecting those, we're to retrieve the heads of 2 different orcs. One from the Rilzun, that, the leader of the Outrunners, then of Gathilzog, the orc in charge of the keep as a whole. You know, just in and out, a nice 20-minute adventure. Having 2 mages for this process was absolutely huge. I mean, with access to 2 polymorphs, nearly every single fight was absolutely trivialized. And I've got to hand it to these 2 mages. There was no communication on which ones they were sheeping, and yet they continually picked different targets. It was amazing. There was one point when we were leaving the keep that the stairs were absolutely littered with bodies because they just kept respawning on top of us. And yet, that whole time I never felt like we were really in any danger. With ease, we collected our orbs and singled out the 2 orc leaders. We had completely destroyed Stonewatch. With this finishing up, all we were left with was to continue to the lion statue once more, as Theo asked us to deal with Morganth personally. Of course, Theo's not in the position to do it himself, so we've got to clean up his mess for him. Morganth has been searching for something called the Scythe of Elune, and Theo believes that he's found it. Should Morganth get his hands upon this artifact, it could spell the end for not only Redridge, but the kingdom as a whole. That's, just a little bit of pressure to put on my shoulders, my guy. As our group was currently going about decimating the gnolls, I cleverly deceived them and convinced them all to help me, and I just simply asked if they wanted to, and they were like, sure, why not? Inside the tower, we were already met with these strange hound creatures, supposed servants of Ilgalar. Carving through floor after floor of these beasts, we reached the top of the tower with only Morganth and a couple of his gnolls remaining. This was going to be an absolute piece of cake! Excuse me? Hello? As this minion of Morganth, this abomination appears, everything just falls into absolute chaos. Or at least it felt that way. Honestly, we really had the situation completely under control. Datarella was 1v1ing a gnoll, Ignacio and Holy were busy dealing with the succubus and the other gnoll, and our new Warlock Edition and I were handling the minion. It was chaos, but controlled chaos. Mostly. We return Morgoth's pendant to Theo back in his tower, and he congratulates us, stating we've saved Stormwind from grave peril. And with that, we've also officially done every quest that Redridge currently had for us. Another grand adventure had come to a close, and to celebrate, we returned to Stormwind to unwind. Collecting abilities, working on professions. The good shit. But we knew this was to be short-lived, as another zone was calling for us. Darkshire was in need of our services, and... Holy shit, is that Stitches?